Plastic crack is a thing.
I totally am in on the plastic crack.
I think plastic crack is a perfect description because once you get addicted, you gotta have your next fix. Where's the next big thing?
I mean, I guess I kind of resonate with the plastic crack analogy. Yeah, for sure.
I'm just a user. I'm a heavy user, I guess.
I agree. I mean, it is plastic crack. Once you get that one piece, you're hooked.
You know what? There is no misdiagnosing plastic crack.
Welcome to Plastic Chats, the special interviews of the Plastic Crack documentary series. And today's topic is...
Foreign Joes, the most wanted.
So, let's start the show!
Hi everyone, my name is Guillermo Olivo and this is Plastic Chat. This is an additional content for the Plastic Crack documentary series. For those of you in the future, we recorded these episodes during the 2020 pandemic while some of us were still in quarantine. We have a super cool, very special guest today. If you're a Joe fan, if you're a G.I. Joe fan, you're in for a ride. And that ride is not going to be a roller coaster. It's going to be a rabbit hole, pretty much. Because if you think that collecting Joes might be overwhelming, or if you think that collecting Joes is a big task, what happens when you get them all? What happens when you complete the line, regardless of what years you wanted it to have? What happens when you finally get them all? Usually, people tend to start collecting prototypes or they even ventures into different lines, but those who wants to remain within the Joe lines sometimes gets to that weird situation like, well, I still need to feed my fix. And what can I do about it? Well, it turns out that Hasbro back in the day was very candid by franchising and licensing and giving agreements to different countries to create G.I. Joes. Therefore, there's a huge, if you don't know this, you're like I said, you better put your seatbelt on because this is going to be a wild ride. And for those of you who know what we're about to talk about, this is going to be a sweet ride too, because we're going to walk into the crazy world of foreign G.I. Joes, which it's super overwhelming. I said to myself, because I'm trying to hold that horse, even though I have a few of, I feel that I could just say no to them. For that, let's meet today's guest.
Let's meet our guest!
Welcome, Eduardo Vila from Panama. ¿Cómo estás, mi amigo?
Thank you, Guillermo. Thank you for having me. Muy bien, estoy muy bien. How's everything?
Great.
With the pandemic?
Well, yeah, we're doing new shows and we're talking toys, and hopefully when people get to listen or to watch this episode, they're out and about and they're not dealing with that. But if it happens that they're still dealing with some of the stuff that we're currently having fun with, hopefully we give them something so they can unplug from their daily journey.
This is our therapy.
Correct. So let's introduce you. You are a mega G.I. Joe collector, isn't it?
Well, I don't know if you want to put it in that term of mega, but I've collected. I started collecting basically G.I. Joe's, the American line. Once I completed that, then I said, okay, I want something else. And I started looking into international. Little did I know back then what that huge world was. And of course, it was a, like you said it, like a rabbit hole. It just took me in. And as I was getting more and more and more, it just get complicated because you can never own everything that existed of every country, every variant and everything. But it's mainly, I decided to go international. And then when I was doing international, I figured out I couldn't do it all. I just said, okay, I'll focus on something. And that's where I focused mainly on factory errors and baggies and international baggies as well from all the different countries, but just kept it to that. But in that process, I just amassed a huge amount of, G.I. Joe
crazy
toys.
Wonders.
Yeah, all countries.
Plastic crack. But I don't want to jump into the end of the episode by making that conclusion. But why are you so firm in saying that you can't get them all? Why is that even an impossible task?
Well, I think several people have tried already, and it's first of all, there's some money issue. We're talking I don't know, over $1 million to try and get everything. I mean, a lot of money. It's just invested in toys to try and get everything. And second of all, I don't think it's even possible because there are toys and there are variants that are in very private collections, and there's only one of that at least known to exist. So there's many we'll talk about different countries, but in Takara, for example, there are different variants of different vehicles, and I own, for example, 2 of them, but I'm missing one, and I've only known about 3 or 4 people who have that one. So in order for me to get it, I would either have to, or one of them would have to sell it. I would need to know that person that has it. So, and, you know, there's a lot of private collections, and people don't even know what exists in private collections. So it's really hard to get everything when you start talking.
Even if you have that $1 million, you can't just burn it like that because it's not hard. I need to add something that I said before, and we said that in the documentary. And we're actually going to have a very special, a big chunk of season 2 is going to be dedicated not just to foreign Joes, but to foreign toys in general, because there is a crazy world out there, and people sometimes don't get to grasp the big universe that entails within foreign toys. But there are cases that I always say, like places like Argentina or Brazil or even Japan, that they're not used to. There's a cultural mindset different than ours, where they don't have storage units. They don't even, like, you know, I have friends over there that say, storage unit, what for? If I have to store it, that means I don't need it, so I'm just going to throw it away. Their moms over there are very, very happily triggered to throw things away and give things away, and that's horrible. So those factors also, do you think those factors also make this race, if you're racing, of course, challenging?
Of course it does. I mean, like you just said it, mostly Americans are tend to like collect or hoard or keep a lot of stuff, but down here in South America, it's not a tradition to keep stuff in storage rooms or stuff like that. So even though we have them, and I have storage rooms and stuff like that, but not everybody does. And mainly when you go away to study, you're growing up, you know, you go away to study. I know people that have gone to study, and when they come back, their mother or their father just threw everything away because, you know, you're studying or cleaning out, you know. So that's trash. You know, they don't really know the concept of how valuable these toys become. And in some countries, like your own country, Venezuela, you know, how valuable those toys are nowadays, because you can just find them. They're really, really tough to get.
I said this as well many times, and it's not there's another factor with Ruby Blast in Venezuela, and is that Ruby Blast was super cheap, and not just in the type of plastic, they felt different, but also in price range. So for kids down there, getting the American Joe was the real deal. That was the expensive one, the one that looked cool, the one that had super nice applications. So once you get a Venezuelan one, there were the designated front line in the event of wars, in the event of firecrackers, in the event of destroying something. If you want to try a parachute made with a bag, you usually use a Ruby Blast and not an American one. So
they're so hard to get, right?
The Venezuelan kids were so destructive that is also, and I'm Venezuelan, so that's another layer to make things more complicated.
I think we all were. I used to live in a condo in the 5th floor, and I remember parachuting my Joes from the 5th floor down, and they would just hit the ground, you know, and they would just break and stuff like that. I remember that. Those were the fun times.
Those were the fun times. Regrettably, well, in my case, I was a little bit picky, but I can't I know that I trashed out a White Mortal from Ruby Blast.
Right.
I know that I trashed because that was for me, it was like a bootleg Snake Eyes.
Right. Well, but now you were talking about how I got into collecting, and that's interesting because there's many collectors who were collectors since they were kids. You know, they were getting the Joes, they were in love with the line, and started collecting them and taking care of them and all of that. But in my case, I just played the heck out of them. Like, I loved the line, but I never thought, to keep them as a collectible or anything like that. As a matter of fact, as I was growing up, I used to, by the end of the year, just like donate most of my toys to charity and stuff like that. And I got rid of my toys myself. Like I didn't know any better, and I wasn't thinking about collecting anything. It wasn't until many years back, but that I opened one of my drawers and I found one of my old Joes there, and it just clicked, and it just.
That was a catalyst.
It was a catalyst. It was like, man, I wonder if they sell these things, and go figure. You go to eBay. Yeah. Little did I know.
And now you have a full storage unit. Just
thousands of Joes, man. It's just crazy. I have several storage units. Yeah.
You also collect baggies?
Yeah, baggies is one of the. To me, it's fun because it's something that's not common.
Let's define baggies for those not in the know.
Baggies is a G.I. Joe inside a sealed bag from factory. So it's not that I made the bag or put it in a bag or anything. So it's factory put into a bag, and then.
And why were they in a bag? I'm trying to talk to those who are just tuning in and they're maybe from another line. They're not aware of this.
They're different types of baggies. Obviously, ones are the mail-away figures that were released by the U.S. after they finished producing not even when they were finished, but as they were producing toys, they were sending by mail these figures that were either in a bubble or in a sealed baggie. And then there was surplus. They sent that to Europe. In Europe, it was also distributed. There were promotions. So you'll find like Chuck E. Cheese's promotions. You'll find in France, there's a Major Blood that came out in a baggie. It says gratuit. It was free if you did a contest. And like in Greece, there were baggies. Greece were mostly baggies.
They were burning surplus. I remember when we interviewed Kirk Wasigian, he mentioned that like the vast majority of the, I believe 84 and up mailers are just surplus. They were just burning inventory, Right. But so you collect baggies, and of course you keep them in the bag.
Baggies and bubbles, right? Yeah, I keep them in the bubble and in the baggie.
What about factory errors?
Factory errors is my other focus, and factory errors, I love those. I mean, factory errors are, again, something unique, something different. And then you might have carded errors where you have one figure in a different card figure. So you would have a Destro figure in a Snake Eyes card, for example, or you would have a Snake Eyes that's not painted, like the gray accents are not there. They never painted, the factory missed that. There's figures with wrong accessories. There's figures with the wrong limbs.
And why do you like factory errors? Because that's not like, I mean, I understand foreign because they're mass produced and they're different, and the car I really like the car in different languages. Like that's something that got my attention from the beginning. And then you add the different type of colors, and then if you put in like I have a Scarlet right next to a Cover Girl right next to a Estrella Cover Girl, and right next to a different type of car, and the way that they look different makes the click. But a factory error. I'm not judging. I just want to.
No, it's just different. On that. It's okay. I mean, they're actually, the more and more the years go by, I've been finding collectors that have been collecting for a long time factory errors. It's not a big thing out there, but it's starting to become like a little trend that it's going out. And I've been seeing factory errors go up on eBay and stuff like that. I've been buying some of them as well. But like there's a culture for that. And I think that comes, before being a toy collector, I was a note collector. I collected notes, currency. And when you collect currency, you actually learn that the most valuable bills or notes are the ones that are factory errors because of how the factories produce them. So, and in different lines of collecting, even stamps. I also used to collect stamps before. And collecting stamps, always the factory errors are more valuable, because they're unique, because they're the only one. So for example, I have a Cobra Soldier who's inverted. Like it was sealed in the card and everything, but it was inverted. And
giving the back to the point of view, like he's just backwards.
Well, not backwards. Like they instead of putting the bubble where it goes in the right area and the shaded area for the figure, they would put it where it says GI.
It was
so the figure's up there. They just so it's rare, it's different, and people look at that and they say, wow, it's just like,
Right.
calls your attention. It's something unique. It's a conversation piece, something that somebody would grab and say, wow, that's interesting how that happened.
An offset of that,
Right.
of the belt line.
There's errors called short shots, where the machine is injecting plastic to the mold, and then it just, the plastic finishes, and then it didn't completely fill the mold, and then you have weird figures with parts that are not completely molded and stuff like that. And it's just interesting to know. It's something, when you have like most of the different collections that you want to make, like if you have the US collection, or you have 82 to 85, which is what you want to do, and then you want to do something different, that's kind of like an interesting focus, because people talk about it. And it was, when you come to my place and you're looking at my stuff and you're like, wow, that's interesting, how did that come to happen? And it's just, I don't know, I think it's fun. It's just.
But speaking of talking pieces, we have this part of the episode is to talk about a recent find or a recent purchase of something that I want to show. I know you're going to show a lot of stuff, but let's talk about that last find that you got your hands on. Show me what you got.
Show me what you got.
Oh, well, I actually had here, I got this yesterday. This is a very, I don't know if say controversial piece or not, but it's interesting because there's I don't know if you've ever talked in your show about Air Devon or not, but she was a big collector. And one of the videos that she had, she was talking about like the mailaways, and she mentioned the Mission Brazil mailaways, and it actually got me thinking, like, Mission Brazil mailaways, that's weird, because I had never heard it, or I have not seen a reference.
Because for those not in the know, Mission Brazil is what you should explain. Like, this is a 3-pack, and it was never meant to be a mailaway, right?
No, it was a retail not carded. It was like a box. It had all the figures in it and the accessories, and it was sold like that. It's actually really rare to find nowadays. Many people have it in their collections, and you can't even find like a sealed one or a really nice one.
Right.
But anyway, long story short, I was trying to get the bagged ones, and these, which are dial tone and wetsuit. I'm missing mainframe. I don't have mainframe yet, but I finally found Claymore, which I've only seen 2 of them, and then the one that Air Devon had, which we all again don't know if it's a mail away, or I'm also thinking it doesn't have accessories in the bag, so it might also be a sample, a Hasbro sample. Could be from Europe. I'm not really sure about that, but it's an interesting piece. I've been talking to many very prestigious collectors that also collect baggies and collect prototypes and collect samples and stuff like that, and we've been debating about this figure. It was really nice to get it, because again, I've only seen 2, this one and another one that a seller had it on eBay, and when I was going to purchase it, he's like, the listing was already offline, and when I asked, he's like, oh, no, I broke the bag off because I figured that figure never came in a bag. So I was like, oh my God, but so those are the only 2, and then the one that Air Devon had, which I don't know the fate of that figure, so I've seen 3, let's say.
Who knows after what happened there. But mind you, finding a regular, which is not that common, finding a regular Claymore like the one you had, it took me about a year to hunt that piece down, complete with every baggie.
Claymore on its own, it's hard to find with the helmet and all. Most of the helmets are cracked.
But a baggie? So what's the provenance here? What do you say is controversial?
Well, it's controversial because it was said, in like a very prestigious collector said it was a mail away, and I don't think it was a mail away. I actually think it's a Hasbro sample, but it's controversial because in this world of like knowledgeable collectors, we don't really know what exactly is this figure is. So I can't say this is a sample or a prototype, or I actually own a Claymore prototype, which is pretty fun as well, but that's another story. But to find it in a baggie, in an original baggie, because it's an original baggie, that's what I would say. It's just controversial because we don't know where to place it. Like, we don't know what it is. That's all. It's not that it's I don't know if controversial is the right word, actually.
Right. No. But I understand what you were trying to say. But that's the perfect sample because we don't know the country of origin. It's Mission Brazil, which is like probably the first time. I might be wrong, but the first time that the actual American line was aiming for international crossovers, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not.
Yeah, maybe. I haven't given much thought to that, but it was early, so yeah.
It was very early. So that is the perfect catalyst for the topic of the show.
Foreign Joes, the most wanted.
Foreign Joes. What do you mean? Aren't we talking about the real American hero? What do you mean, Foreign Joes? Let's address this to those not in the know. Not in the know. What do you mean, Foreign Joes?
Well, Foreign Joe is anything not U.S. released, starting from there. Mm-hmm. So the U.S. released all the figures that we know from 82 to 94, and then a couple more 95, and then the 2000 figures. But those are all U.S. releases. Now, the Foreign Joes are either the same figures released in the U.S., but released in different countries. Also, those same figures not produced by Hasbro in the U.S., but produced in different countries as well. There's license and the factories, because like U.S. had their factory, either China or whatever, when they were making their figures, or Hong Kong, or but like there are countries like Spain or Ireland where they made the figures, or in your case Venezuela, where they made ruby class. So even though they were licensed, Hasbro had to authorize the different countries to be able to sell these. But in some countries, Hasbro played as, for example, Hasbro France or Hasbro UK, and in other countries, like Venezuela, it was ruby glass, or in Brazil.
Well, in South America, there was a very interesting effect with specifically with Joes, because the gatekeeper for South America was always Estrella in Brazil. But the way that it worked is that it started with Estrella, but then it went to Plastirama in Argentina. Going all the way through, and then at the very beginning, in the very first line, it was Estrella, the one that was sending stuff down, and not only selling locally in Brazil, but selling to neighbors around the continent heading south. Plastirama eventually stepped up the game and say, well, we have the production capability, and they made a deal with Hasbro. But Hasbro already had this was new for them, and I spoke in depth with Kirk Basigian about this, and then Bob Prupis told me that this was new. This was new, that there's all these countries who they don't just want to buy the product, but they also wants to license, and he was very open. Eventually he became the international VP of marketing because of some of these actions, and he moved to the UK. But the story goes that Brazil, since it was the very first, ended up being like the let's put it like the authorized retailer for South America. So the Venezuelans and the Argentinians, they needed to talk to Brazil in order to get business. Eventually, so hence why the first wave on Ruby Plus and Plastirama happens to be aligned with Estrella and aligned with the 82 and 83 line. But then eventually the Argentinians and the Venezuelan just took a flight, went to Hasbro, talked to them and say, hey, we can do it, and we don't have to, we don't have to depend on the Brazilians and just Brazilians are the middleman. However, another phase that I need to add is that the way that they designed the deal was like, all right, I'm going to send the molds to Brazil, and Brazil is going to send them to Argentina. Argentina needs to pay an escrow account, and it was a huge amount of money. It was like $250,000 per mold. An escrow account back then in the early 80s, just as a safety deposit. And once they got back to Venezuela acknowledged, like, hey, we received it from the Argentinians, or everything is working order, and then Hasbro released that security deposit. That also applies to Venezuela. So hence why, this is coming from the Ruby Plus source. They were like waiting. Sometimes the Argentinians took a month more than that was scheduled. And this is an era with no internet, everything was by phone. So imagine the whole deal. And then you have $250,000 on a safety deposit just waiting for me to release the mold. They actually went again, took another plane and say, hey, let me make my own thing. And hence why we walk into the era of, you know, new action figures made by them, painted by them, sometimes following Hasbro directions. But that's how the story goes at least in South America.
Sometimes they didn't follow, you know, in terms of what the figures came out to be, right? So
correct. But with that in mind, what I should leave this question at the very end, but I think it would be better if we just hit it right now. What's your favorite foreign line?
I mean, they're all pretty amazing. Again, I tend to stick with what's hard to find and what's less common and what you can't find. And to me, South Africa probably was one of one of my favorite because it was really hard to get them. And when I got that little collection, I was pretty excited. I love Takara. You know, the artwork on the cards is beautiful. And I love European releases as well because it's just crazy how they renamed all the figures and how they recolored some of them.
Or erase weapons from the card art because they're
right. We'll see some of that if you want.
Sure.
The Nordic figures, I have a couple here. Nordic figures.
South Africa is your favorite, right?
I mean, yeah, it's one of my favorite international collections.
All right. So would you agree that Fun School might be the more common foreign figure out there for collectors to find and to seek? And
you know, I think we've been talking about, you know, different colors and all of that. And I think Fun School, due to the lack of quality control that we all know, well, the collectors know, it's really, they had so much and so many variants of every single figure, and maybe that's why it calls the attention of a lot of people. And I would say it's one of the most common ones out there to collect. Fun School, I mean, it's become so common right now, or so popular is the right word right now, that you can't even find these things anymore. You go to eBay and you only find the Russian ones, and you can't find the actual, you know, India ones because everybody's collecting them. So
the Russians are, to the best of my knowledge, the Russians are younger, right?
Right, but they're also made by Fun School. That's what I'm trying to say. So anyway, but I would say Fun School is one of the most popular ones or common ones, and then the other ones probably would be UK, because there's a lot of UK figures out there and people can find them easily on eBay.
Let's jump on that. Let's just start seeing stuff. You just mentioned UK and Pallet Toys. Show me what you got. I know you have a lot of stuff there, and you were so eager. We're trying to keep this episode within the hour, but mind you, we are literally taking a worldwide tour of licensing and all the money that they made back in the day, creating this amazing foreign line that we know and love as G.I. Joe.
Right. Well, first of all, when we talk about the UK, they had different series or lines of Joe toys, and basically they actually started with Pallet Toy really early, when they were making figures that were not even like G.I. Joe at all.
I love them because they look like Star Wars.
Right, but they were really simple and non-articulated and stuff like that. But don't even get me into that. Like I love all the different. I have baggies from those things as well, samples, factory samples from that. Just crazy. Anyway, and here's a good, like, well, this is like a good Pallet Toy. Let me just get it out so you can see it better. Hold on. Now the baggie doesn't want to open. But anyway,
the Ziploc, you mean? You're not literally.
No. I'm not gonna open the baggie. Yeah, the zip is
okay. Do you hear that scream? That was X amount of collectors just screaming in terror.
No, I'm not opening my baggie. Here's the baggie. This is actually a Pallet Toy figure, the Jackal, and I know
Destro
which is Destro
with a skull.
And you're gonna like it, but I actually have 3 of them. Okay. And the reason why I have 3 of them is because they're all variants. The little skull he has there, varies from one to the other, like the art of the picture. So I just kept all the 3 of them there. Those are the only 3 I found. So it starts with figures.
The skull belongs to a very specific world that a team that he's part of, right?
Right, correct. These are also Palitoy figures that I just wanted to show. These are bagged figures as well, just starting with the quicker ones.
I got that Moon Dancer not so long ago, actually. I love that figure.
They're getting really hard to find. I mean, it's not that it's like super crazy hard to find, but they're becoming hard. Like,
they use a surplus of those for one of the Joe conventions. So there's a Moon Dancer and there's an identical figure that actually ended up in a Joe convention as exclusive many years ago.
Which is like a big set. I think it has like 17 or 19 figures, I think. I also have that set, but that's different. They had different accessories and stuff like that, and then that's the one that comes with the vehicle. Anyway, but then you have, figures like this one, which is pretty cool.
Which is an Action Force for those listening and not watching. Describe what you have.
Okay, this is a Flint carded Action Force. This is actually Palitoy's The Action Force, and then this is probably like the 3rd release that UK had for G.I. Joe figures. But this was already when they were working with Hasbro in the packaging. This is like a transition packaging, because then after this came other types of figures that are more common to that I'll show you in a second, that are more common to the actual American card. But they also had differences, which I will talk about in a second. But this is just a UK figure, and I would just want to show you a couple more real quick so people can just see the fun behind these. This is actually resealed. It's not completely sealed, but just to have this in this condition, we're talking probably over $1,000 just to find this card right here. Again, they're really hard to get nowadays.
Especially carded, because they play with their toys, Oh, that's a beautiful, you're holding a Roadblock, Action Force Roadblock. That's a beautiful card.
That's a Roadblock. Then Cobra Commander. And again, I'm just showing you Action Force right now.
Yeah, I know just a few, so no worries, because otherwise the episode is going to be 10 hours long.
Very long.
But the card is very similar. It's just the Action Force.
Those are Action Force. And then after that came figures like this. So let me show you real quick. I'll show you the same figure, but the 2 releases. This is Metalhead from the UK. And then you got this one, which is the harder one to find. This was the regular release. And then this was released with what they call the promotion called Weapons Really Shoot. And I chose this one because there's a lot to see, and I just wanted to show you a little sample of the UK. But I picked this one up because it's kind of crazy. Look at the accessories. They actually swapped the actual accessories that the US figure came with, and they made this sorry for that, where they take Cobra Commander's accessories and not only put them with Metalhead, but also swap the collar. So
you think the change of colors is an indicator of something weird going on.
This just putting this that belongs to Cobra Commander to Metalhead is weird, and then changing the color is more weird. So and like that, all Europe had, like, they were getting stuff late, right? So they were already released in the US, and they were getting stuff 1 or 2 years late. So even Spain, I think, started in '86, if I'm not wrong.
Right.
And it's crazy that they got like a mixture. In '86, they got things from '84, from '85, from '86, from '87.
They were trying to catch up with the catalog, though.
Right. So, and there's figures they didn't even get. So.
Correct. But so, for your perspective, the more common are Fun School Russia, Fun School India, and of course all the universe within the Action Force Palitoid. But let's talk about the non-common ones. Because I mean, some of the collectors that might be watching or listening, they probably have some of the stuff that we talked or show. But let's talk about the weird, the really hard to get stuff. So Greece. Like Greek Joes?
Yeah, Greek Joes are interesting because they had carded figures as well, mainly European, UK figures that were released in UK, and they would just like stay like it had a sticker or something, and they would release them in Greece. But the cool part about Greece are these figures that came out like these, again, baggies, and they kind of kit bashed. Look at these. They kind of kit bashed the different figures with different accessories that didn't even belong to them. Look at that. These are Greek figures.
So basically, this is someone like, oh, that's a beauty. So basically, this is, you know, they just had a lot and then just started putting things together in a bag. Are they consistent or they just change randomly?
They were consistent. Like all the low lights that I've seen, though I haven't seen many, have the same accessory. So they would do the same thing, but they just decided that wetsuit would go with Tomax or Samot's gun, and that's it. But the ones I've seen, they all have the same gun. They're the exactly same thing.
So they're consistent. They just got the memo wrong.
Right. Exactamente.
Is that low light? I don't know if it is the camera, but isn't that because you're holding a Slaughters Marauders low light, the Greek version. Is it the greener on this one, or is it the camera playing a trick on me?
No, I think it's pretty much the same figure. I think it's surplus. They're surplus figures that they got and they just bagged them. And you could actually, I don't know if the camera will catch that or not, but you can actually read the letters in Greek.
Right.
There's like, I don't know if you can see that or not, but basically they are all in Greek.
Which makes it super cool. Now that elevates the baggy experience.
And then this is really cool because in Greece there was not too much of the G.I. Joe release, and here you can see as well the Greek writing and everything. And this was like the sticker book, like the sticker collecting book where you would like the Panini ones.
Like a sticker album type of.
A sticker album. That's the word I was looking for. Sorry for that. Yeah. So basically, this is the sticker album they had. And when you completed that, you would also get figures like these. So they would use them as prize as well.
So you're right. They're mixing years because that figure is, it doesn't equate to the figures that you showed before, the different eras and years. So maybe they were just trying to catch up at the same time, isn't it?
Right. So that's something interesting that I wanted to show you in Greek. There's another one that I had.
Nice.
But these are all bagged. I do have one of the carded, but the cards are just exactly as the UK. Just they have a little sticker that say that they are from
Greece.
What
about France?
In the case of France, we have here's an example. Here's Duke, and you can see. Can you read that in the right way, or is it like inverse?
Yeah, no. I can read it. The card, there is it's not a sticker, but there's an add-on on the design in French.
Right, and then if you go back to the card is in French as well.
It's French as
well.
well.
And then what they did was, depending on the line for European figures, what they started doing was adding like a different color. Like they did the yellow border for the battle force. And then they did the Ninja Force. They did it like in a little pink thing, or
apparently that's an identifier, but to the best of my knowledge, due to regulations. So they kind of wanted to tag, but not altering that much the art. Because imagine the amount of memos and calls like, "Hey, can I add something?" And then Hasbro needed to sign off, and then so adding that border helped them figure it out how to properly praise things, because apparently France has a strong law against having products in another language. And mind you, these things are jewels, because right now that doesn't happen. Basically what they're doing with the current lines is they're doing, Star Wars kind of was the catalyst to that, but they're doing three different or four different languages in one card, and everybody gets the same thing,
Right. Actually, it's interesting, but for me, when I was trying to sort all of this, I actually kind of separated Europe, and I came out with about 6 different groups of countries, and how they package the country, and they would say, okay, this is Spain, UK, Italy, or this is Italy, Spain, or UK, Italy, and then they would release the vehicles or the figures in those countries. But one card, and it would be for all the countries in different languages. Now, more in the modern times, mostly all the toys come out already with all the languages and everything.
Yeah,
It's just one card, everything.
And you save money because it's one card for everyone. You save a lot of money in approvals and even printing. You know, everything comes from one source. You were showing a Thunder Machine, right?
Yeah, and I wanted to show you this one as well because look at the Dreadnoks
logo emblem
which is Matamore l'ennemi. It's in it's in French. Right, and it's just fun to see. It's fun to see how different this logo is from the Dreadnoks logo in US. So
there were some liberties as well, to all
right. There were some liberties. I guess they approved them somehow. But yeah, there were some differences for sure.
So let's keep it within the same language, but let's cross over. What about Canada?
So yeah, let's talk Canada. Canada, it's probably a fun country to analyze because
super fun.
Yeah, super fun. They also had all the different lines that not lines, but like releases that US got in which you had like the 25th anniversary and you had the vintage line as well. And I want to talk to you a little bit about both. Maybe there's a collector that also likes modern. So I'll start with the vintage ones. We're looking at the French Thunder Machine, and this would be, for example, the Canadian Thunder Machine. And it's fun to see again how the logo changed and how in Canada there was a law where they had to release the figure, as you just said, in both languages. So they had to have English and French.
Well, which is in Canada that applies because we both know that they speak both languages.
Right. And then here you would see the file card. It's a little bit different. Let me see. Yeah, there. I think there you go.
Yeah, you can see it perfectly.
And then the file card would be also in the 2 languages. But then you would start to see how, because it's 2 languages, how they divided like the same file card and put the 2 languages in both, right?
What about the actual vehicle? Are the colors different than the American version?
In Canada, I think it's the American version. The one I have here, this one is not sealed. The French one is sealed. But I opened this one, it's the same colors, not any big difference from the US.
Not like Ruby Blast, which has a completely different pattern of colors.
Right, not like Ruby Blast. But then you get figures like this as well. Again, just showing, not that there's any difference. This is actually the Star Brigade line, and you would also see the same thing. 2 languages.
The dual logo, the dual language.
Right, and this is just a figure, just to show a little bit of a difference there between the vehicles and the figures. And they also had, again, the 2 languages, in the file card.
Right.
They were always released like that. And then another fun thing that I had here to show you was these 25th anniversary figures. These are Canadian as well, but as you can see, the 3 of them are different.
Wow, they have multiple characters in one car and no characters in the other, right? And
right.
Are the same? It's the same figure, pretty much, right?
This is the same Snake Eyes. So they had 2 different types of cards. They had the explosion bag, which is empty, which is this one that you see here. Oh, sorry, this one that you see here. And
it has like a sticker on it. What does it say?
It says Comando, and then code name, nom de code, nombre clave. And here's the key. This particular figure, when they made it like this, was not only for Canadian, but they were also going to explore the Chilean or the Chile market down in Chile. So that's why there's one line in Spanish. And it's interesting how they refer this particular figure to the release for Chile, because it has the sticker in it. It has Spanish on it. But
The
but you-
variance is that it was meant to be explored in Chile as well.
right. But then it's fun because you have the 25th anniversary, then you have the 25th anniversary logo like that. Wait.
And then
So, okay, this is just a variant in terms of the tone. Yeah, sorry. These two are variants in terms of the color.
is different.
Yeah, the gray paint just changes a little bit, and then the other one that you have here, it's in this and it was the same background for all the figures that were released. It was either this background or another one. There were only two options, and then it was super hard for me to get the entire set of 25th anniversary figures for Canada, but I got it all. It was hard.
That's basically, obviously, they were saving money there, but just making one generic 3 characters.
Right. But then the fun thing, because if you decide to collect, for example, 25th anniversary cards, it's fun because you'll have this one, you'll have the one that has a 25th anniversary with this background. Then you have, there are paint variants in the process. If you're if you like paint variants, there are little changes in paint in some of them. So it's a very interesting line to collect, the 25th anniversary from Canada.
And crazy too, because now you're talking variants among variants, and
it's
so
really
foreign figures within variants of the variants. So
right, and then
that's just nuts.
it really is, and it's just, again, it's a hobby, right? So it's just but then the other frustrating part sometimes is that you don't really know what existed. There's no real guide for you to follow to say, okay, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna get them all. So either you talk to people who know, or you talk to people that know other people who know other people who know. It's,
and hence why networking and making great connections and I that's the part that I like the most than hunting down figures. Like having this, we talk a lot. And
you make friends in the process.
Yeah, we talk a lot due to that. Like we chat often due to that. And every time that we find something, we share with each other. But let's head south now. And we're not doing this in any particular geographical order, but let's go to a very dear country of mine. Let's go to Mexico. No manches. Vamos a México lindo y querido.
Manches,
Mexican love.
Okay, let's see Mexico. So Mexico, it's fun. Mexico. Well, Mexico started with Eurican, right? Or Aurican. In Spanish, Aurican or Aurican. And I don't particularly have those figures here, but those are like the baseline, basically, when they started doing all the series 1 figures.
Coco
and they were,
and Snake Eyes.
Right, and they were boxed, and they had they were in a different box. Nothing like in the U.S. where they had a card. It was just in an intricate box where I'm sorry I don't have an example of those, but after that they started evolving into Hasbro as well, and then they were also, not only Eurican was the factory, but they called them Comandos Heroicos. And here's again, I just try to pick the same vehicle just for you guys to see the reference. Comandos Heroicos.
And here, Thunder Machine is funny the way that they translated Thunder Machine, because it basically says Thunder Turbo, right?
Right.
Turbo Trueno.
Turbo Trueno, right, which is Turbo Thunder.
Right. It's a
Turbo Thunder.
Interesting. And then
here you can see El Enemigo, Comandos Heroicos, G.I. Joe. Basically, it's all in Spanish. The file card is in Spanish too. You can see there the art is similar to the US, but it's different.
It's Torch, not Trasher.
Right. Well, thanks for bringing that up. I thought what you meant here. Basically, here the driver is the same, Thrasher, but on the Comandos Heroicos line, it is Torch in the file card. So that was kind of weird. We also know in Mexico, when they were doing vehicles, they were kind of doing something like in in India, where they were just throwing figures randomly into vehicles. So you really wouldn't know. Sometimes you would get a surprise, and you would open a vehicle and it didn't have the figure that it's supposed to have. And they even had variants in those figures as well, where there's different colors, different heads. Sometimes you would get a different arm with a different legs. I mean, it's just,
and I don't want to leave Mexico, but that reminds me something, and this is like a teaser of season 2 of Plastic Crack. But we did interviews Sao Paulo, Brazil, and for them it was super funny to see all the characters, and it was like a common thing among the Brazilians, like to see all the characters in the car, in the art of the box, and then opening it up and say, well, where are the figures? They thought their take on that art was like they were getting that vehicle loaded with action figures, and it was like heartbreaking to figure it out. Like, according to them, it was super heartbreaking to figure it out. Like, well, maybe because, you know, they're just sending us a cheap version and they're not sending the Joes, but the Americans kids are probably getting the figures with all the loaded with dreadnoughts, and it wasn't.
Exactly. And just to keep on moving in Mexico too, this is interesting because it's also a different color figure. All of you guys who have Carcass, or you know, from Star Brigade, that was the last 1994 line.
Yeah.
That figure came out in orange, and here it's like a purple, deep purple blue.
And these figure are notorious because they were super hard to find.
Right, and then they called it Brigada Espacial, right?
Special Brigade in the Spanish. Right. Pretty much.
Especial Brigada Espacial, which is like a brigadier from space, right?
Special Brigade.
Right.
Oh no, from space.
No, espacial.
Right. So
espacial from space.
Space Brigade, pretty much.
Space Brigade, which is the translation, I would guess, for Star Brigade.
Right.
And then, you know, on the back, same thing. They're in Spanish and whatnot, but and the art is the art from the U.S. You know, they translated it. Actually, it's also interesting to note that it's not printed, it's a sticker, that it was cut and it was placed over the US. Actually, you can see the US flag right there.
Right.
They would print it in stickers and put it right there very precisely.
Who knows what type of deal was. Maybe that was a cheaper way of, you know, getting the car from the factory and then just to slap a sticker on top of it.
Right. Here's the other one. Here's the other one from that.
Oh, yeah. Predacon.
Right. Yeah. So just wanted to show you a little bit of like a little sample of Mexico.
But let's go over the Atlantic now, heading east. Italia, la più bella Italia, Italy. What do you have from Italy? I know you have some cool stuff from Italy to show.
Okay, yeah, Italy. I mean, beautiful country and also different Joes. I mean, it's not that they're too different, but I do want to show you so you can see. This is a vehicle from Italy. This line, to find these vehicles again, it's just so hard. Anything from the 80s from Italy, it's just either non-existent or very scarce.
The collectors that I know that are actually from Italy, they basically said like, keep in a box. Why do we need to keep the box? And it makes sense if you think about it. Why would you need to keep the box? The box was just the chipper for you to get that vehicle.
Well, right, and I mean, if you take the box off, it's the same exact vehicle, just the sticker that says Action Force. That's it.
But it says Forza Irresistible. Irresistible Force. That's what it says, basically.
And that's actually the main differentiator. Every time you see Forza Irresistible, you know it's an Italian figure or an Italian vehicle. The art is pretty much the same.
It says 4x4 con cuatro suspensión. It says 4x4 in Italian, pretty much. So,
yeah, right.
Sospensioni.
It's interesting. In Europe, there's also, I think it's UK, there was a mud fighter that had blue bombs instead of the regular gray bombs. Right.
Yeah,
here's another.
Ruby Blast was notorious for doing that. And basically, the explanation behind it was that they found a cheaper blue or a green, and then just go, well, use that one that is cheaper, and we cut the corners.
Different
And
to make, right? Anyway, so this is a Dodger as well from Italy.
Mm-hmm.
So there you can read.
It has 4 sounds for an electronic battle, is what it says there.
Right, and I don't think
They do. They still do. They still sound.
they still sound.
It basically says in Italian to have an electronic battle with 4 sounds.
Right.
That's what
It's
it says on
amazing
the
how
card.
these toys still work, right? We're talking 30 years old and stuff like that.
Oh,
The
yeah.
battery still
And,
works.
that's a big conundrum, because there is a battery in there that you know that eventually is going to leak, but you want to keep it mint on car, so
Right. What can you do, right? It's just
just let it go.
I sell everything right now. I should sell it.
We're in Italy. You want to show something more from Italy, or you want to jump into a nearby country?
No. Let's just jump to another country so we don't keep
Then
people.
Let's
just
jump to
just-
Spain. Let's keep it closer. Let's jump to
Okay.
Spain.
Let's talk about Spain. Okay, so
bajo, vamos, españoles, de buenos.
yeah, hablemos de España. Hablemos de España.
España. Let's talk
Let's talk about Spain. Well, Spain, I was saying earlier, Spain, it was hard for them because they got in '87. They started getting all the figures really late from '84, '85, '86. So in their first wave, they had like figures from Storm Shadow from '84, but
And mind you, they were competing with He-Man and Ninja Turtles, who were at
An interesting thing for Spain, though, I was going to say before showing you the figures, is that Spain is one of the countries that actually made vehicles. So many vehicles for Europe, from different countries in Europe, were made in Spain. So that's kind of like something interesting to note about Spain. And then another cool factor about Spain is that in some cases, not all of them, but in some cases, they made up their file cards. So they would translate them to Spanish, but they would make them up entirely. So this was a different character now.
Well, but you're not surprised about this, because the Spaniards are notorious to change things, and they don't even like to use words in English, and they're very proud of their language, which I'm not judging. So sometimes that transcends into, well, this shouldn't be said in this particular way, so let's just write whatever we think is more appropriate.
Right, but again, it's just curious because in different countries you would see exact translations of whatever this toy was supposed to be, and in Spain they just did whatever they wanted, and they spoke about somebody who ate salad or made
change the story completely. Yeah.
Right, and made local plates or something that would cook a local dish or something,
Right.
and a figure that was not supposed to be doing that was now called differently, and they was just doing that. So, and here's
paella.
Right, here's a direct translation of a alley viper, an alley viper from Spain, and they call it víbora de callejón.
Which
víbora, it's like a direct translation.
It's a fair translation, yeah. Víbora de callejón, alley viper. Yeah.
So alley, callejón, víbora, viper. So it's not that or
mind
snake.
you, though, like find a figure like that in that shape is super hard from Spain.
Right. And this is the second release they had, not the first wave, because it has in Spain they had different waves and different releases. So in wave 2, you would get figures from wave 1, but the difference is that wave 2 figures that were repeated had this kind of holding
a cutout. It wasn't just a peg.
It wasn't
but a cutout.
There's like a how do you say that in English? Cocada,
I don't even know how to say that in Spanish. I don't even know what that means in Spanish.
Well, it's completely closed, and it has like
a peg hole. You had a peg hole.
Peg hole. It's different, but they had different waves. Is what I wanted to show you. Here's another one, another fun one. rompeolas.
Which is wave breaker. That's what they call it, right? Wave
Rompeolas would be wave breaker, right?
Wave breaker. You're breaking
Shockwave.
waves. Right.
But it's interesting. I've always liked that about
super.
the figures, that they change the names and how these names are.
And mind you, that one says, if you can flip the card, that one says something that I love about the Spaniard, because they basically says international heroes. So the real American hero is just no longer makes sense. Now they're international
out of the way, and now it's an international hero. Right. So Spain had that, and is this Puesto de Observación? Yeah, this is Spanish too. I thought it was Mexican. No, this is Spanish. Here's another. This is
advanced point of observation, pretty much.
Right. And this is what I was trying to say earlier about the peg hold. This is wave 1. So this was the very first appearance of G.I. Joe in Spain, because it had this hold. But if you would see this, I don't know about vehicles. I'm not sure if I should say that, because I'm not entirely sure. Okay. But in a figure that would have this hold, in the second version would be like that. Would be open,
open.
So you know that's a first wave, second edition.
That's
so it's
interesting. That's what determines if it is wave 1 or wave 2.
Right. And actually, G.I. Joe's in Spain ran from 88 to 94, basically. And here's another Spanish figure. These are also hard to get because of the yellow border. Anything yellow border is hard to find as well. I guess the hardest line would be the first wave, the first figures. Those are the hardest.
And it's funny because it's not a sticker, but the add-on says a bazooka that actually fires. That's what it says.
Right, exactly.
Like it truly fires.
Bazooka que dispara de verdad.
Right.
So
but they kept the Big Bear, right?
But they kept Big Bear. And I was talking with some friends in Spain the other day about this, and basically this was the last line. The line was actually dying, so this was the very last figure that came out. Not this particular, but this model or these type of figures were the last ones to come out. And because it was dying, they didn't produce a lot, and that's why they're hard to find with this yellow border. And the weapons really shoot, translated to Spanish. It's just because the line was dying, and it was just like the last. And that's why maybe they were trying to make something different with the art and whatever. They left it in English. Like it wasn't, not pushing hard.
Just burn it because these are the last straw.
So that's.
If we're good with Spain, why don't we go to a very, very hard to find spot? We spoke about Fun Skull. We talked about Fun Skull and the variants of which, mind you, I was attempting at a certain point to get a Russian right next to an Indian, and then I'm like, this is stupid. I'm not gonna even try because it's just I ran out of wall. Let's just start with that. I like to put.
The real estate is becoming expensive.
Right. But then Fun Skull doesn't end there. There is a very, very prime rib among Fun Skull, which is Egypt, right? Right.
Fun Skull produced the figures for India, for Russia. They also produced figures for Nilco, which was the company that distributed G.I. Joes in Egypt.
Correct. They did Egypt, and it goes without saying that these are extremely hard to find.
They are. They're really hard to find. As I was getting stuff out, I didn't even remember getting prepared for this interview was cool because I was taking stuff out that I had not seen in a while, because
nice.
Apart from you, you have a beautiful display, like how you have your figures there displayed. I mean, it's amazing. And
Thank you.
Congratulations, man, because you have a beautiful thing. I would love to show it, but I don't have space to show all of this. It's just crazy. So we have tubs.
The biggest problem is always real estate.
Right. So tubs on top of tubs on top of tubs, and then you go to the one you want, you pull it out and you open it and you start looking at these things that you love so much, but they're in a tub. You can't show them. So it was really nice to get all of these out. So I wanted to show you. This is actually, and this one is graded. This is one of the few. I don't grade figures much, but this is one of the Nilco ones. from Egypt. This is the Baroness, and you could see right there in the back it says Nilco as well. And
that's beautiful. That's a beautiful figure.
There's Snow Job. These are the really older ones. And the card is in perfect shape, even though it's also the flimsy card. It's not that well-made American card that we used to.
Good old Fun Skull style.
Right. So Fun Skull is still a really thin cardboard.
Don't bend it like that. Really you hear that noise? That's the same amount of collectors from not so long ago that were screaming again for you bending that card like that.
Right. Well,
especially with an Egyptian Joe.
Yeah, I mean, these are really, really hard to find. This is another beauty.
Wow.
Snake Eyes.
So you're showing, for those listening, he's showing a Nilco Egyptian Snake Eyes Minton card. And by Minton card, that's an understatement because that card looks pristine. So
yeah, it is in beautiful shape.
The card art changed a little bit, right? The less explosion, it's less explosive, right?
Just a little bit.
It doesn't have all the either pixelation or either the flames and all that stuff in the background, right?
Right. Well, I mean, it is very similar. You can see here. This is the Egyptian one, and this is the actual. Wait, sorry for that. This is the actual Fun School one. So they're pretty much close in terms of the art.
The Nilco.
It's just a Nilco that changes.
And is the card back in English?
Yes. And this what it says here in the little yellow bubble also changes. Let me show you in the back so you can see. Just wanted to put them face by face so you can actually see the difference between Egypt. This is Egypt, and this is Fun School India. Which you can get into India in a minute, but just again to show you what Nilco is all about, and a couple more figures from Nilco really quickly, just so you can see them.
Wow.
Look at that.
Amazing. So they went all the way back, right? Are those? Well, I can't tell. Are those swivel arms or?
No. These are these are the swivel arms.
Okay.
And then here's the last one I wanted to show you.
Wow. So he just showed Short Fuse and Stalker. And
Short Fuse, Stalker.
That's beautiful, man.
I mean, these are really hard. And I, why I like this one? Look at that. Look at the sticker. I don't know if you can. Look, it still has the sticker from back then.
Right.
And it had like the place where they were selling it and all.
And correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe that's my perspective, but there's little to none information about all these Nilco figures. Like there's just a little straw of information of what they did and how many they have.
Again, it comes to that where there's no actual guide of I guess we were talking once about creating a guide about this. It's just it doesn't exist. The knowledge is out there, and I have friends, like I'm by no means an expert in, like I know people who are really experts.
Neither do I. Right.
I mean, in each of these lines and know this, like the national anthem. They just know, well, the all black, the non-black. All the variants that came in different countries and all of that, which I like that, but I couldn't get into that. It was just too much, too much. So interesting in that. Look at the rivets for Egypt. They're iodized.
Wow.
And that's also a differentiator. So when you get this figure loose, so if you don't have the card, you would know
if you get it.
If you can get it.
I've been in this game for a while, and I never seen any of those figures in person ever. So if you get it, those are super hard to find. But let's just stay within Fun School, because I think we just flew over Fun School at the beginning. You wanted to show something about Fun School and say something about Fun School India?
Yeah, for sure. I already showed you the Baroness, so we were comparing it with Nilco. They're, again, done by Fun School. Let me show you a couple of beautiful figures from Fun School. This is actually a flint. And it's characteristic. You would see that
the RMF
promotional sticker. Yeah, promotional sticker. You would see that in the older cards from India.
The first wave, yeah.
The first wave. There's also another figure that has become really popular among the hard figures to find, which is this torpedo right here.
Oh yeah, especially because of the color variants.
Right, look at that beauty.
It is beautiful. And the car is super neat. So
Right.
I think you need to make an emphasis on the fact that Fun School just went nuts and they just changed colors and did whatever they wanted with the
Right.
colors.
Fun School is one of those lines that really, I don't know, I don't want to say impossible to collect, but it's just, there was so little quality control that it just, they would make figures at their own discretion, not even, as a policy of what they were going to get out or not. They would just do whatever they wanted and play. I saw in one of my friends' collection, he had a road pig with a Hindi dot in the center of the forehead. I mean, they just created that one. And I don't know if that's a unique one or if there are more, or they made a couple of them.
I didn't even know about that, but I also know that they just ran out of color and then just changed the color. So you have the same figure with variants of variants of variants, and that was just a production thing. They were basically just you have an overstock of green. Let's just put green of those on those legs and just call it a day.
And here, now that we're talking about those variants, here you can see the rivets on this one are black, and the rivets on this one are metallic. And basically that would mean that it's a driver, right? And this is what we were talking earlier, that drivers were put in baggies, and they were randomly thrown in different vehicles. And then, when you were open your vehicle, you would get this random figure. And it was surprise. Right. And I wanted to show you these very rare baggies, because normally you would see figures, and these are not, well, I don't want to say normally, but like these would be the more common figures that would come as drivers.
Where common? That there's cars right now. They're really hard to find right now. Like I have that Sarana right next to the camera. I'm looking at her carded, but they're really hard to find right now.
Right, as drivers are hard. And then you would see cool things like these, where you have a Storm Shadow that is a regular Storm Shadow. Then you have the all white arm Storm Shadow, so no camouflage on the arms. And then there's a more rare one that I don't have. It's the all white Storm Shadow.
Oh yeah, from that version. From
this particular version. And then from that there's like gold boots, non-gold boots. There's the blue version. I mean, there's
my humble and honest advice to collectors out there is to do not attempt to get all the variants of the Fun Skulls line, because that's gonna break the bank. It's gonna break the bank because you're chasing down figures that were just recycling colors or just using random colors. And they did it by batches. So you might get to see the same figure and you might think it's a variant, which is technically a variant, but at the same time, it was just, they were just messing around with their stock.
Right, and I was able and fortunate enough to be able to get, to put it in a way, the figures in a moment where the prices were not what they are today. It's just, if I try to do what I did now, it would just be impossible. It's really, really crazy prices. I mean,
but now that we're in,
there's figures loose with paintwear that go for $1,500, $2,000. I mean, it's just
crazy money. But now that we're in Asia, because I think we're past time. Let's head over to. I mean, my favorite out of all foreigns are the Japanese. I love the card art. The figures are not that different. They're basically the same figures, but the card art is beautiful. So let's fly over Japan real quick. Real quick. We're gonna go heavily into that in season 2 because we interviewed Tony Lin, and Tony is
Tony, man. Tony is one of the top collectors in terms of Takara stuff. He has all there is to be there is to have in Takara. So this is just one example of one figure, and how the card art came to be. This is a Cobra Soldier, but look how it all came to be.
That just changed the game, because yes, the Cobra
All
Soldier
in
might be the
Japanese.
same, but that card is beautiful.
And I'll show you, and I want to tell you a quick story. I know we're on time here, but I wanted to show you something really spectacular. And are these two figures that I have? These are what they called like the initial figures that were sent by the U.S. to Japan, where they said, okay, this is the toy we have. It's called G.I. Joe. If you like it, maybe we can, do a contract and all of this. And this is prior to what I just showed you. This is prior to this line. So they were going to test the waters with this, and they just added a Takara sticker there and translated the file card, added a translation there, and threw that to a couple of stores to see what happened. The figures sold, the people liked them, and then they said, okay, let's make a deal. And that's when they created all the special art and all of that, which is beautiful. It's one I told you also in the beginning that I really liked Japan because it had beautiful.
Agreed. And
it's
again, I can see
different.
why. I can see why, because when I was interviewing Kirk Vasigian, he told me like, hey, with the 12-inch line, it was kind of a challenge because the last thing that you want to sell in Japan was U.S. soldiers. Right now, we're talking 80s,
Right.
like the World War II is far gone, but it's still that there's that sense of selling U.S. soldiers in Japan might not be the right marketing,
Right.
but it worked.
It worked, and it was beautifully made. I was just showing you these dragonflies from Japan, and I just wanted to show you this because this is one of my favorite vehicles in the Japanese line, and I'm still trying to get. Now you mentioned Tony. Tony knows. I still need the Stalker one, but this is the most common one, the one with Wild Bill. You can probably still find it, but then finding this one with a breaker, I mean, it's just really hard. And there's one more variant that has Stalker, which is the most difficult one. I've known that to exist two of them. I know that two of them exist. I think Tony had one or sold it to someone, but they're really
Probably Russell. He has everything that
Russell.
was could afford. He bought it.
Yeah, I didn't want to say names, but yeah, Russell.
Do you know the story? I don't want to tease that, but do you know the story about the Japanese flag?
What story?
There's a story about a Japanese flag, but I'll leave that for season 2.
Okay.
Japanese flag.
Oh yeah. Well, I've heard about it, but I don't know too much about it. But yeah, I know.
Yep.
I know what you're saying.
But since we're in Japan, and I'm trying to speed it up because of time, but let's jump to a very, very hard to find one, which is Korea.
Okay, Korea. Well, here we have a couple of figures from Korea. This is how they came to be there, and it's just beautiful because look at the logo. Look at how they spell G.I. Joe.
Oh yeah.
And of course, just look at the bubbles as well. All the letters and all of that. And these were all translated into Korean. And it's fun to see that the company that produced these, you'll see that little elephant there.
Uh-huh.
It's called Young Toys. And this particular one is printed on the card because this is a later edition. But you're gonna find earlier figures, and when I say earlier in terms of the release, where they I got it backwards. First they were doing this, and then later they were just making it cheaper for them, I guess, and then we're just slapping a sticker.
Slap a sticker into it, right?
On top of that. And the same thing goes for the back. It's the English card, and it has just a sticker from Young Toys there in Korean.
But mind you, those Koreans haven't been able to get my hands on one, and I just want one. I just want one.
And they even did this line. I just wanted to show you that G.I. Joe Extreme, which was just dying in the U.S. as well, but they also had that over there, and they also did vehicles. Again, real quick, just to show you, but they also did vehicles. This is a sealed one. Slap a sticker there.
So they're they're mostly from those days or from those years, or do they go back? Because so far you have shown that era, but is that the era that they hover around typically?
They definitely went all the way back. I don't have those. Those are super rare to find, like Cobra Commander or those older figures. They did exist. I don't have them. I've seen pictures of them, but I don't have them. It's a very hard to find line. I guess countries that produced, I don't want to say less, but they were far away. They didn't have.
And they were not mass produced like some other countries like India, or they were not heavily mass produced from the rest of my knowledge. But if you're still listening, or if you're still watching, if you think that you can head this way and you haven't fully realized that you should not try to attempt to get every single foreign Joe, at this point you're crazy from my humble and respectful perspective. However, if you want to go deeper, take me to South Africa, because that's where it gets, from my perspective, wild.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, and I don't, I mean, for people, they might say, bah, South Africa, because they really didn't have something specific in terms of card art or anything like that, like we've seen in Japan or even in China, that I have figures that are printed differently. These were the same figures from UK, but getting South African figures, if you think probably Tolstoy's in Australia or Egypt figures are hard to find. I mean, these figures are just insane. And the story behind this, look, here's how you tell a South African figure. First, because it has the Prima Toys. Prima Toys is a company. Let me see if I can get it in more focus. That's the logo for Prima Toys there. They had that sticker, and some figures, the older ones, had the big sticker on top. Not all of them did. And
Action Force with a G.I. Joe logo.
Look at that.
Of it.
Of course, these are basically figures from the UK. They were just getting figures from the UK and slapping the sticker. But again, finding this is just the story. And Tony, you talked about Tony and a couple of people. Some of them know the story about these figures, how they came to be, and it was just a nightmare.
Story. I'm not gonna dwell on that because it's a long, crazy story. But
right, here are a couple more. Just showing you so you can see. Here's Shockwave. We saw it earlier in Spain.
Rompeolas,
right?
That one says the Action Force, and then
right. But this tells you that they're using UK cards, right? This is the Action Force, and this is Action Force
with a G.I. Joe's sticker on top of it, slap on it.
Right.
So,
and then I have. Go ahead.
So,
go ahead.
If you want to show some more from South Africa, by all means.
Yeah, I was just gonna show you. I have this set, which is beautiful. Which is
wow! Look at that Outback. That Outback is amazing. And is the figure? Have you analyzed the figure? Is the figure different? Like, oh wow!
It's the same thing.
But I'm sure that Chris from the Full Force, the Action Force podcast, is just going with his typical explosions right now. He's probably letting himself, like burning himself on fire right now, but just show again the whole Tiger Force pack. So just so I can.
Yeah, let me see if I can grab it all.
I don't want to hurt Chris by watching this, but I'm pretty sure that some like him are gonna go bananas with that. Are they figures different? Look at that beauty. You have the full set, pretty much, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Are the figures different?
No, they're all the same figures. They're all from. You can consider this UK figures. But again, finding that Prima Toys, and I'm gonna tell you something. I'm one of those collectors who still search today every single day for Prima Toys, and
good luck with that. All right.
It doesn't exist. You can't find it. And well, you know the story to these. And it really a random thing.
Once in a lifetime.
I was lucky, right? I was lucky. I was there at the right time, at the right moment. I was able to grab these, but never again. And my friends from from the collecting world, like some of them have these, and some of them from that same source, some of them got out, and some people have them. Just a few people have them, not
But
many.
It's just
but
for
it's
me,
just-
that from my humble perspective, that is the rarest after the White Mortal from Ruby Blast.
Right,
That is the hardest thing to get right now, from my perspective.
Yeah, I would say they're hard to get for sure.
But let's
think-
end,
Yeah, go ahead.
end the episode with not necessarily with the hardest, but let's end it with some carioca and some flavor. Let's let's take across the Atlantic again. And why don't we finish in Brazil? Why don't we finish with Estrela, which are I like them a lot. I love them. I love the Estrela line, and I've been trying to get not on a complete sense, but I'm there. I love Estrela. I actually found a seal case not so long ago.
Right. Let me show you Brazil. Yeah, let's talk about Brazil. I mean, Brazil has another crazy line.
Carioca,
Carioca.
Capoeira. I love Brazil.
Right. I mean, I was trying to show you a little bit of everything, so I don't have too much. I have like 9 or 10 bins full of vehicles and figures from Brazil. I just took one out, which is this one, which is the only figure that I was showing you right now.
Which that one I have to add it is a Commandos en Asao made by Estrela. It's a Brazilian figure, but I don't know if you know what the G.I. Joe collection tune means.
What the what?
The sticker that says G.I. Joe collection 2, you know what that means? That was a surplus that Estrela had. And they sent it to Argentina, and Argentina sold it as G.I. Joe Generación 2, Generation 2, Generación 2. So that sticker means that figure was probably either found in Argentina or sent to Argentina, and hence why.
I didn't know about that. That's something I didn't know.
Yeah.
That's why you were asking me about that sticker. I didn't know about that. That's nice to know. But it does say Estrela, so it was made by Brazil, but it was sent to Argentina.
Is a Brazilian figure. It is Commandos en Asao, Commanders
Right.
in Action, made by Estrela, but it was a surplus that they got, and they sold that down south, and Brazil, Plastirama got that stock for a very cheap price, and that's why it doesn't. Some of them are actually the sticker are on top of where it says Commandos en Asao, because they were trying to block the Portuguese by saying G.I. Joe Generación 2, G.I. Joe Generation 2, because this technically they sold it as the second generation of the Plastirama wave.
Well, that's interesting, Guillermo. Now you mentioned that, and it does sound correct, because it is in Spanish, and you wouldn't find Spanish in the Brazilian figures. It would be all in Portuguese. So to have that sticker in Spanish would make sense, and I didn't know about that. That's a cool, that's one of the beauties about collecting as well. You learn so much, and you learn every day. Man, I there's so much I've learned from so many of my friends.
Yeah.
There's just, and I also wanted to show you real quick. This is the same vehicle. Normally when they did vehicles, they would do like a shrink wrap.
Okay.
And they would shrink wrap them like that. They're all shrink wrapped. And
they're wrapped because it says gratis regalo para vos. Well, again, this is if you read the sticker and tell me the language.
It's in Spanish. And
not just in Spanish. It's in Argentinian because it says regalo para vos.
Para vos, right. So now you completed my understanding about these. I just knew these were hard to find. And I knew that these came out, and I liked them because I was able to grab these. Come from Mary Devlin's collection, actually. I got them from one of the sellers that was selling off from her collection, and I was able to grab them at the same time. That's why I have the 3 of them. I've never seen another variant, but I didn't know that you're telling me now, which makes perfect sense because that
was like a giveaway. Right, so, that was a giveaway if you bought a certain amount of stuff. Some stores in Buenos Aires, if you bought a certain amount of stuff, they had like that promotion. If you buy X amount of money, we'll give you this G.I. Joe vehicle. But it's an actual surplus coming from Estrela, Commandos en Asao. They just relabel and repack it and they use it as a promotion there. They sold it for real cheap.
That's amazing. Yeah. Anyway, so I think we're pretty much covered in terms of figures. I guess the only figures I have not shown you are these UK figures, going back to UK, but just that are really one of my favorite figures because they're so rare. These are UK micro vehicle editions. Let me do one by one so you can see them there. They had micro vehicles and they had that promotion sticker on top of them.
Right.
These are really hard to get. Like
from the best of my knowledge, they were short. They weren't mass produced.
Short-lived, right? They were short-lived. They didn't have many of them. I've seen like 10 or 12 more different variations of the vehicles and with figure combinations. But these figures, I love them. They're just hard to find and they're not common. So I kind of like them and I wanted to show you that.
So how come there's no Venezuelan love in what you're showing?
Man, it's not that I don't love it. I really like it. I appreciate it every time I see it. It's just, to me, I feel it's kind of like unreachable. It's just too expensive. Too expensive and so rare.
Super destructive and
right. And I like figures that are really nice, you know, to have a nice condition and everything. And it's just very hard to get. I've seen nice conditions.
The ones that I have comes from my childhood, and they actually survived because
at Jokan, I remember when you were explaining to how you got them.
Right.
You know, your mom sent it to you, right?
Yeah, my mom shows up one day and she's like, "Well, I just found a box loaded with action figures." She obviously knows that I'm a collector. Every time that she travels, she buys me stuff, and it's super funny with her because she's like buying stuff, and then when you go to customs and they see toys, and they go, "Oh, you have kids, of course," and they go, "Well, they assume that the toys are for the younger kid," and she always go, "No, it's for my eldest. This is for my he's not kid, but he still buys toys." So she knows that, and she was digging some stuff. Venezuelans, the difference that Brazilians and Argentinians, they do like to keep stuff in closets for 30 or 40 years. They don't have attics, they don't have garages loaded with stuff, but they have closets. So
that was a really nice present from your mother. I mean,
you pull out a shoebox loaded with Joes, and some of them were Rubik glass.
Oh my God! I mean, that's just, well, to you, I guess it was just
because that were mine.
All of memories, right?
Right.
All the things that you remember and all that, and then knowing what you know now, how rare they are and how hard they're, how hard to come by they are. It's like,
in my case, it's kind of cool to have something from Venezuela, regardless. But if it is from my childhood, it's even better. So let's try to wrap this up. So which figure? Pick one. If you have to pick one figure out of your entire collection.
Wow, one figure. I have to choose one figure. It's really hard for me, but I would probably say Snake Eyes. Probably, it's one of my favorites. Snake Eyes figure. Do you want me to give you like a specific country?
No.
I mean, Snake Eyes is one of my favorite figures.
From any country.
From any country, right? I don't have all of them, but Snake Eyes is one of my favorites.
Eduardo, where can we find you online? If someone wants to reach out and talk to you or get in touch with you, where can we find you online?
Okay, you can find me on Facebook. You can go to facebook.com/evilaspot. That's where you will find Eduardo Vila, my page. We can become friends there, and you can also check out my website, which is soldseparately.toys. Soldseparately.toys. I have a store online where I sell G.I. Joe toys and other toys.
Well, Eduardo, it's been an international pleasure to take this. I know that we've been talking about doing this, and we've been trying to have this conversation for a bit, and the schedules has been crazy, but I cannot thank you enough for taking me into
I can't thank you, man. I really appreciate you having me in this show. I'm really impressed with what you've done so far in the show, where it has gone and everything. So, I'm really happy for that. And by all means, if one day you want to come down to Panama and start opening crates and going storage units, let me know.
Absolutely. The times that the times that we've done that through video is like going to that there's a small world ride in Disney World where you see a little bit of every country for sure. You know that if I'm ever
in here is nothing. I mean, this is just like, hey, showing you a little bit, but there's a lot more. So if you're ever down here or you want to do that for season 2 or 3, let me know, man.
Absolutely.
open.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks again, and I look forward to talk to you in the future.
Jojo.
Please remember that all of these episodes were taped during the crazy 2020 pandemic while we were all locked down and going nuts. So bear with us. Also, and I found out not so long ago, so don't feel bad, that if you hit the bell below, like, you know, the little tiny icon that looks like a bell, YouTube automatically will let you know when the next episode is about to come out. So make it easy. Just hit the bell. Like, subscribe, do all of that stuff, then hit the bell. I'm beyond excited about the next episode in a very strange way, because my friend Jason Boostra is going to join us to guide us into the mysterious world of sectors. I gotta be honest with you, I didn't know much about that line until Jason came in, and he just showed up with some unique, rare, one-of-a-kind pieces of this very dark and mysterious storyline. I'm pretty sure you'll love it as much as I did.
Plastic Chats is a series of special interviews that complements the Plastic Crack documentary series. The interviews are made with informational, entertainment, and educational purposes. Neither this short nor Plastic Crack documentary series are sponsored or endorsed by the companies or brands mentioned in this episode. The comments made on this episode do not reflect the point of view of the production company of these series or employees and associates. Help us get found. Click on those 5 stars and stay tuned for the next episode of Plastic Chats.